Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first one is titled, "You want to pay $300 extra for services?" Okay, I'll take it as a tip. Back when I was a teenager, I used to work at this party center for kids' birthday parties. I was calculating the bill for one customer who initially chooses a package that cost $500 plus tax. On the day of the party, he had less children show up than the package maximum, so I decided to switch him to a lower package that was only $200 plus tax. He didn't lose any services or items or anything, and he paid at the end of the party, so the only thing that happened was that he was getting a cheaper price for the same party. When he comes to pay, I explained to him that since he had less children, I automatically downgraded the package to save him some money and showed him the difference. He began arguing with me, saying that he wanted the higher package. I thought he was confused, so I explained again that literally nothing changed except he was getting a better price. The party was over anyways, so it wasn't like we could have taken anything away from him. He just kept arguing with me though that he wanted the higher package. The third time he complained, I was about to explain it to him again, but then thought, why do I care? It's not my money and I won't keep fighting this guy on why he should save the money. So I charged him for the higher package and took the difference as tip for myself. The next one is titled, "I made an entitled customer wait for hours after they complain about slow service." This happened last summer. After watching videos all night, I was reminded of this and thought some people might get a kick out of this. I am a waiter at one of the nicest restaurants in my hometown. I am pretty personable and always end up striking friendly conversations with my tables. I have 1.5 million stories about people who were seemingly very friendly but ended up stiffing me on my tips, but this is malicious compliance, so I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't be a dick to your server until after you receive your food. It's a beautiful day, and the restaurant is on the water. Every nice day is absolutely packed. My restaurant does not take reservations of any kind ever, so people have to go in person, request a table, leave, then come back later to eat. Normally locals understand and expect this, there is no problem, but we are a tourist town. When newcomers try to get tables, there is always trouble. This is important in a second. Now I am swamped. I have had my section full for the entire day and hadn't had time to go on a single 5-minute break since the start of my double shift at 10 a.m. It's now around 6 p.m. A couple lands at one of my tables in the corner and they are already upset because they had to wait to get a table after a new girl had tried to take a reservation for them over the phone, and they had to be called back and told that they had to come in to reserve a spot. I nod to them, acknowledging that I see them, after I notice them glaring daggers at me as if to say, "Get your butt over here now." I was dealing with a particularly shitty table at the time. Any server reading this will know the type. Every freaking time you come back they need something else. They ask for ketchup, you bring ketchup, then once you're back, they ask for refills on drinks, you run and do that, and then they need salt and they want to order more food, blah blah blah. Now at this point, there are two things you need to understand. 1, they had sat around waiting for a table for over an hour before being sat, and 2, our restaurant has food runners. For those of you who are not familiar with this, it is a group of high school kids that, for around 6% of all tips the restaurant receives, will take care of running your food to your table for you. Now I was also the only person that treated the food runners like human beings instead of pack mules. Because of this, my food runners were very well organized and would happily help me out when I was swamped. A food runner had gone to my table, offered them water, brought them silverware, and told them I would be over shortly. 5 minutes later, I roll up and start my speech. "Hello, my name is Gray, and welcome to the restaurant. Sorry for that wait, as you can tell I'm really busy," and the man cuts me off. "What's your name?" he asks condescendingly. "Gray," I reply. "Gray," he starts up again, "why is this the first time you are coming to the table? We have been here waiting for over 45 minutes. They had literally gotten there no more than 8 minutes ago and thought I hadn't noticed them walk in. You are by far the worst waiter I have ever seen. You should have greeted us and walked us to our table." Another lie, as I saw the hostess do this like she does for every other person that eats here. Now I was already having a bad day, and I was on my second part of a double shift that I knew would go well past midnight, so I was having none of it. This guy goes on to insult my posture, my accent, my clothing, I'm wearing a ducking uniform, and a myriad of other things. At this point, I'm staring straight through him, not listening to a single word. Finally, he says, "We want another server now." "You should be fired for your incompetence." I smile, he would not have asked for that. He basically just gave me the green light to duck up the rest of his evening. I'm friends with everyone in the restaurant. When I have a request, it can usually be handled almost instantly. But this time was going to be different. I walk to the hostess's table and see one of my best friends, let's call her Emma, crying under the counter. Emma is a 4'6" adorable Hispanic girl who was 20 years old. She was just a tiny little thing, and she needed a step stool to address people at the front desk. She had a cabinet that she could literally sit in and take naps, and she was in there crying. I gave her a big hug and asked her what was wrong. She said a couple had chewed her out for 10 minutes straight about how terrible she was, and guess who it was? My freaking table. I asked her if she wanted some revenge, and she said hell yes. I told her to take as long as she could, but apparently, I was not good enough, and they wanted a new table. She smiled, she knew what was going to happen. I told my water buddy John that Emma was going to send him a table in an hour or so and went back to work. That couple watched 3 tables sit down, order their food, eat, pay, and leave before they even got to order. They sat and wanted the entire time just to try and stick it to me. The look on their faces as I happily and efficiently took care of all my tables right in front of them was priceless. Since they were not my table anymore, I didn't visit them once. After they were moved, ate, and left. I asked the waiter that took their table how they were. He said they were very polite and patient with him. I think that will be the last time they treat wait staff so horribly. The next one is titled, I Will Send Them Home. CNA, Certified Nurses Aid in a Long-Term Care Facility, LTC. I'm a night shift supervisor, position unique to this company, in a nursing home. My shift is 6 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. and there is always an issue between day shift and night shift. Always. I've been doing my absolute best to help day shift and ease some of the tension between the two shifts. A couple weeks ago, we were short-staffed. Like, 1 certified nurse's assistant, aide on each of our 4 halls, and 2 nurses between 4 halls short-staffed. I told my staff to do the best they can, the important thing is having these residents up for breakfast. If you can do vitals, great. If not, oh well. Day shift can do them. Day shift strolls in and one of the day shift certified nurse's assistant aides says to me, everybody better be up since vitals aren't done. I whipped around and told her in a very stern tone, there were only 4 of us last night. Next time we're that short, are you willing to come in at 4 a.m. to help? Pikachu face. The day shift supervisor arrives and this is where my great idea enters my brain. I can't help but cackle like an evil witch inside as I see her walk in and set down her stuff. I patiently wait until she turns to me and says, how was your night? We're at the nurse's station and I tell her, there were only 4 of us last night so I told them to focus on getting residents up for breakfast. Okay, thank you. We can do the vitals, that's no problem. Also, it's against company policy to steal time, to be on the clock when you're not working. Yes, but everyone knows that. The next time I hear day shift come in here and accuse night shift of not doing anything, I'm sending night shift home for stealing time. Now, I've been at this facility 6 years and 5 of those years were spent on the Alzheimer's dementia unit. I have a reputation of being thorough and using company policy to my advantage. They knew I wasn't kidding and I guess word spread because it was the last time I ever heard day shift say anything like that. The following night I came in, I let night shift know to tell me if they ever make that claim again so I can send everyone home. If they're not busy, they don't need to be here. And since you're all super certified nurses assistants, aides, do it yourself. The next one is titled, Can't Use the Heating. Okay. Not me but my friend and her boyfriend. She was a manager at a local independent hotel and her boyfriend looked after the garden and things like that. They were paid rubbish but they were allowed to stay in one of the cottages on the grounds for free. They had to be in the hotel really early in the day until late at night, to be there if guests needed them. The hotel owner, their boss, refused to make any investments in the building, so the windows were paper thin and so heating was expensive. The owner enforced rules on where the heating was allowed on, and stopped them being able to have heating downstairs where they worked. The kitchen, where they worked, had an office section in it, a table and a laptop basically, so instead of paying for heating, my mate would just turn the oven and all the hobs on, open the oven door, and it would heat up really quickly. They weren't using the central heating though. The next one is titled, "My boss wanted me to dress for him." This was years ago, but it still makes me giggle. When I was 19, I got my first real office job. We weren't customer facing, so everyone dressed really casually. Jeans, tennis shoes, t-shirts. One day my boss called me in to talk to me about dress code. He said that he'd like his assistant to wear business attire like they do at the corporate office. I asked what that is and he said like little dresses with jackets. I felt icky, but I didn't fully understand why for years. That night my boyfriend, now my husband, took me to the store and I bought 5 outfits that exactly matched my boss's attire. Old man jeans, cotton button-up shirts and loafers. That's what I wore until I left the company. He couldn't say a damn thing and he never talked to me about dress code again. I now realize that it ruined his little fantasy and it makes me proud of my young self. The next one is titled, "Well, you never said not to wear orange." I will never forget my favorite malicious compliance from my private school days. For some important background, I went to a very strict religious school, and though I was also religious, Catholic, I was not the same religion as the headmaster and founders, Baptist. They did not like me from day one and made it clear. I wanted to play soccer, but they only had a men's team. "All the girls here play volleyball, why don't you try that?" I didn't want to play volleyball, I had played soccer for 10 years at that point. I wanted to play popular Christian rock songs for music ministry and was told that we weren't allowed to play that devil worship music. Tons of stuff like that. I was in the office more than once, despite being a mild-mannered freshman. Another important note is that at this time, I had a pretty, we'll call it punk style, I guess. I did a lot of shopping at PacSun, Hot Topic, and most of what I owned was black. Normal teen stuff. I also had very, very long brown hair that would often fall in my face. Think Violet from the first half of The Incredibles. This will be important. Things continued to get worse over the next 2 years. Finally, at the beginning of my junior year, I was called into the guidance office. The headmaster, guidance counselor, and my English teacher were there for an intervention. "Mrs. English, lucky bug, we're very concerned about you. You don't seem to be very social. Are you happy? Are you having dark thoughts?" Me, "I'm perfectly happy and I have a ton of friends." "What made you think there was something wrong?" Headmaster, "We're all just a little concerned about how you present yourself." Me, "What is that supposed to mean?" Mrs. English, interrupting loudly, "Well, it's probably because you dress in all black, baggy clothes, and your hair is always in your face. It'd be nice if we could see you smile and know you're all right." Me, "What's wrong with wearing black? I just feel comfortable in these clothes. Plus, the baggy pants aren't that baggy and they help me avoid accidentally breaking the pants must not be skin tight rule in the dress code. And I'm proud of my long hair. It's taken me years to get it this long. I'm perfectly happy, I'm just wearing what I like the most." Headmaster, "Well, we'd like to see you wearing happier looking outfits. You really should make an effort to fit in among your peers." Mrs. English, "And you should try wearing more happy colors. Wearing harsh blacks will only make us wonder how you're doing." It's safe to say I was horribly insulted. Wearing black didn't make me suicidal and I had a great life at that point. So, cue the malicious compliance. I spent the next few days investigating, waiting for the nugget of information that would make this compliance so sweet, juicy if you will. Finally, my English teacher says offhandedly, while insulting yet another student, "I just hate the color orange. It's such an unbearably ugly color." There it was. My plan was ready. I filled my closet with orange, bright orange top, striped orange jacket, puffy orange vest. My favorite was an iridescent, fluorescent orange rain jacket. Honestly, I don't like the color orange either. But I did what I had to do. So, almost every day for the rest of junior year, I wore an orange shirt and pulled back my long hair to make it even more visible. Then, I sat in the front center seat of Mrs. English's class and made her stare at my bright orange shirt. I could see the disdain in her face every time. A few of my friends got in on it occasionally, too. After about a month, she made a comment about how it was nice to see me putting some more variety in my wardrobe, but why did I have to pick orange? I just said, well, you didn't want me to wear black anymore. But isn't orange a great color? And I didn't stop wearing orange until the end of the year. The next one is titled, Don't Touch the Emails. Well, okay then, Ms. Lazy Coworker. I won't. Have fun finding a new job. So, at my job, I'm one of the supervisors. It's a firm with a lot of employees all tucked into one big room, and there are 2 supervisors and a shift leader in each shift, morning, afternoon, night. These shifts get rotated on occasion, but we supervisors mostly rotate with them. Normally, with my typical co-supervisor, we share the responsibility of dealing with all the work-related emails. There's a lot more than one would expect, so it does sometimes take up to even a few hours of each day. One week, one of the shift leaders derped and put me together with a different supervisor, and we were basically stuck for that month. Now, she's absolutely lazy. Like, ridiculously so. Won't even get off her butt during lunch and go eat at the cafeteria. Instead, she makes mess at her work desk, which would later be used by the supervisor of the next shift. I used to be the schmuck getting the desk from her, and it was always a crummy mess. Because of this, she does none of the actual supervising, and never has. During our 3rd day that week, she asked me why I was sitting at the desk for so long, and if I had any intention of actually doing my job. I replied that I was doing the emails, and she just got super upset, telling me that was her assigned duty. This is how she and her usual supervisor split their load, and told me to get out of the office and go watch the workers. She pretty much screamed it, turning red in the face and all, throwing all sorts of insults at me about how my generation never does crap, so I told her, fine, I'm never touching the emails again. We even signed unofficial workplace contracts distributing our duties evenly, and she got the emails. Now, though we are technically all the same, I am the supervisor most likely to be promoted, so the shift leaders and the director generally talk to me, and have me relay some info to the others, so I'm a lot closer to all of them than the other supes are. Well, because of this, I was the first to learn that we'd need to master Excel, and hop to it immediately. It wasn't yet officially announced, but when it was, the lazy bum I was stuck with first refused to learn it, saying it wasn't a skill listed as needed while we applied. Knowledge about Microsoft programs was listed. She kept postponing learning it until we officially got some work to do with Excel. I started doing it right away, and because this isn't something you can just do for another person, each individual sup gets credit based on how many tablets needed we make. They're for some sort of pamphlet, but I have no clue how to describe the full thing in English. So, during our 3rd week together, I do the usual routine of checking on the workers, then working with Excel until I met my quota. Well, because Ms. Lazy Bum never used Excel, she got an official warning for not meeting the quota, and ended up only barely learning some stuff about Excel. She was still super slow, and couldn't even meet the quota, let alone make up for the lost time. Now, during this, the emails, as you may have guessed, remained untouched, because Excel took her the full 8 hours. During our last week together, the director came and asked us what was going on and why was our shift always getting clogged with the emails. Ms. Lazybum immediately tried to pin the blame on me, but bippity boppity boo, I had the contract she insisted on us signing. Since she'd already been given a warning for not learning Excel, and had a previous complaint about the way she spoke to some of the other employees, she was fired. I was meant to return to my usual co-supervisor next week, but now I'm on sick leave, so that might be karma witch slapping me. The next one is titled, Don't Believe My Allergy? Alright, now everyone can be miserable. So back in high school I was in marching band and we got these cool raincoats that could fit over the uniform, but we never really got to use them. The band director had to take their mum to get surgery and didn't know what time they'd be back, so the assistant band director took over. We had to take our raincoats, it's relevant, trust me, due to the chance of rain that night. Transition to the game. It's second quarter and we get a light drizzle, so we're told to put on our raincoats. Maybe 5 minutes later I start to feel a bit uncomfortable in them. I shrugged it off as it's been a while since I actually wore a raincoat and just needed to get used to them again. Nope, uncomfortable turns into feeling unwell. So I take it off, looked at the red patches developing on my arms. And I'm like, WTF? Why are there patches on my— oh, it's made mostly of nylon with no type of lining inside the coat, fun, and basically refused to put it back on and doing everything in my power not to scratch. My arms weren't swelling, which was good, because I didn't have any medication to help. Left my spot and asked for some Benadryl or something so I can at least get through half-time. And the assistant band director to me to put the raincoat back on, which I refused. Assistant director, we need to look uniform. Me, I'm allergic to the coat. AD, put the coat back on or go sit on the bus for the rest of the game. Me, if you look at the book you would see my medical info. You know, that thing you and the band director asked for during camp? That will explain why my arms are a bright red. AD, put the coat on or go sit on the bus. I'm letting the director know about this. So just to prove a point I put the coat back on. And by the time we were done performing, my arms and my neck started to welt. Took off the coat and felt like I was on fire. And of course someone was like, hey assistant band director, little Haitian's arms are swelling, so I got to hang out with the paramedics for a good chunk of third quarter. I didn't go into anaphylactic shock, I just swell whenever I come into contact with nylon or latex. So I got miserable and angry for the rest of the game because guess who didn't get to eat? We get part of third quarter to eat. A band mum was nice enough to get me a granola bar from her bag, but I determined to make the rest of the game hell for the assistant director. AD, why didn't you say something? Me, I literally said, I'm allergic to the coat, and told you to check the book with my medical info. What else was I supposed to say? So for the rest of the game I didn't play. I was third base that year and it threw everything off because I packed it up. I was still hungry, and just was in a bad mood overall, snapping at everyone. My section leader tried to give me laps. The next day, Saturday, was a competition. And the band director asked about the night before. I just showed him my arms, which were still red, smelled vaguely of aloe vera, and he just walked off. My mum on the other hand had some words for the assistant band director and the booster parents that were at the game. The last one is titled, You Want All the Columns? Okay. I worked at Citibank during the Y2K compliance effort as an assistant. I had to pull reports and sometimes import them into Excel. The report would have hundreds of columns because it made a column for each field regardless of whether or not it had information. So, once my boss wanted me to print a report for his boss. I attempted to explain this issue to him and that if I printed it with all the empty columns that it would take several sheets taped together. He said that's the way I want it. Okay. So I printed the report, which was something like 6 pages wide, legal, and several pages long. When I took it up to them, they both were dumbfounded. Thanks for listening.